We have 30 minutes of news still ahead for you tonight, including these stories. The destructive emerald ash borer has struck again. Wagishik Rice will show us what sort of devastation it's caused this time around and tell us how residents are reacting. And get ready for a whole new eating experience at the Rideau Centre. Ashley Burke will report on the Upscale food court the mall is preparing to unveil and the eco-friendly approach it's taking. But first tonight, our top story. Despite appearances, Ottawa police are insisting there is no evidence to suggest the recent shootings in the city are connected. The latest in those shootings happened just yesterday, when for the fourth time in a month, a man was shot in the legs. At the same time, a suspect in another of the cases has turned himself in. Sherry Ass joins us now live with more on this disturbing and very dangerous trend. Sherry.
Adrian, these shootings occurred across the city in West, South and Central Ottawa. The most recent one happened yesterday, and in all of the cases, the victim was shot in the legs and has been reluctant to cooperate with police.
It appears it's a complete coincidence. Yes, they are very similar in terms of the actual act of being struck in the legs, but we have no definitive evidence or connection between all four of those.
The Ottawa Police Guns and Gangs Unit says it's treating the four shootings as separate, targeted events. The first incident occurred June 22nd on George Street in the Byward Market when a 24-year-old man was shot in both thighs. Less than 10 days later, a man arrived at the general campus of the Ottawa Hospital with gunshot wounds in each leg. Then, last Thursday, a man in his 20s was shot just after 7 p.m. on Horsdall Private in the city's south end. And the most recent shooting happened in Britannia's Ritchie Street neighborhood. Residents say they're upset but not surprised to learn of the incident.
There's a great deal of tension right now. We've had problems, with break-ins.
I just live here like 9 months, and it's not safe at all.
Police say a man was shot in the lower left leg in broad daylight yesterday afternoon. It's the same neighborhood where rapper Malik Adjiketcher was shot dead last May.
It's so disappointing because we've been working hard to establish strong relationships with the youth, the children, and the adults in this community. So this is kind of a half a step backward.
Police won't say whether any of the incidents are gang-related. Officers are investigating 22 shootings so far this year. Police say that's an average number, but they are concerned for public safety.
When these projectiles are flying through the air, that an innocent bystander could be struck. Unfortunately, that is a possibility.
Police have added extra patrols in each of the neighborhoods where shootings occurred. It's a move residents support.
And especially that there's children around this community, so it's good to know that there is a little bit of safety.
Now, the suspect from Thursday's shooting on Horsdale Private turned himself into police this morning. 31-year-old Mohammed Abdi Abdullahi is in custody. And police are asking anyone with information about any of the shootings to contact them. Adrian?
Okay, thanks, Sherry.
You're welcome.
The emerald ash borer has claimed more trees, this time in a popular downtown park. The invasive insect forced work crews to remove more trees today. And people in the neighborhood say the timing is particularly bad. Wabishik Rice explains.
A dwindling pile of branches quickly becomes wood chips, joining a mass of remnants that used to be decades-old ash trees behind the Jack Purcell Community Center. People who walk through the nearby park regularly are sad to see them go.
Yeah, it's a shame.
These trees are the latest victims to an insect that's ravaging the urban canopy across Ottawa. The invasive emerald ash borer got to 10 trees here, so crews had to cut them down to prevent the beetle from spreading to other trees in the area. People here understand what has to be done, but they don't like it.
It's upsetting to see the trees go, but you definitely want to prevent the spread of infection.
Ash trees make up more than a quarter of Ottawa's forests. The city has had to cut down more than 6,000 of them since 2008. Having fewer trees around can be tough, especially on a hot, sunny day.
I'm sad that the disease is around, which necessitates the trees being taken down, but I would hope that the city could afford to replace them right away because the shade's very important and the trees are very important for the environment.
The city has replanted more than 13,000 different trees as part of a widespread reforestation project. It's working to diversify urban forests with a variety of species. Tree lovers hope new efforts will give parks a longer life.
If we think of the longevity of a tree, it's so vast compared to our own that it really puts like a sense of time, like a time limit on ourselves.
Wabgishik Rice, CBC News, Ottawa.
We have an update now on a story we told you about yesterday. That stunt in which a motorcycle was driven at high speeds through Carleton University's underground tunnels. Ottawa police confirmed today they're investigating the incident, though they won't say anything beyond that. The police investigation follows one announced yesterday by Carleton. The ride came to light after a video of it was posted on YouTube on Saturday. It has since been pulled down from the site. The video showed what appears to be a motocross motorcycle racing through the tunnel system. A spokesperson for the university has said if the driver is a student, he or she could be expelled and face a $500 fine. Well, our somewhat moderate summer certainly heated up today. The thermometer reached 30 degrees, and with the humidity, that felt more like 36. Even so, that didn't stop a lot of people from being active today, whether they were out walking, cycling, or paddling. At the same time, many others were taking it easy with the heat, whether it was cruising down the canal or enjoying a leisurely lunch by the water. And of course, when the mercury is rising, what better place to go than the beach to either sit on the sand or take a cooling dip? Ian Black is away. Frank Cavallaro has the weather for us today.
Thank you and good evening. It was a warm, muggy day and conditions will turn a little better. We'll tell you in just a second when conditions will cool off. The weather headlines look for some morning showers or thunderstorms tomorrow as a front pushes in. Then the sky will begin to clear by midday on Wednesday and we get a break from the humidity for a couple of days, Wednesday night, Thursday into Friday, and then humidity will go back up. The record on this date, we didn't break a record today, but the record we were aiming for was 36.1 back in 55. The record low was 9.6 and 72. A very dry day. The average should be about 26.8. Let's check our satellite and radar the last 3 hours. Just some high clouds, a little bit of haze out there as well through North Bay. A disturbance is going to begin to sink into the Ottawa region, and this is the front that could bring some first line of showers in the overnight hours, and then tomorrow morning for your commute, you may see a shower early in the morning and then some breaks as well. It's still going to be humid with the passing of this front. The cooler air will move in, but not until tomorrow night when the sky will clear. The showers will be well to the south and to the east, and fresher conditions will begin to move in. Weather outlook overnight tonight, still muggy. Showers starting overnight, light showers, and then tomorrow morning, a risk of a thunder shower. The wind still from the south. It's still going to be muggy in the afternoon. Skies will begin to clear out. You'll see the winds turning in from the north, and the high tomorrow about 22, 23 degrees once this front leaves our area. Your 3-day forecast, a morning chance of a shower or thunder shower tomorrow. Yes, fresh, comfortable. Thursday, 24 degrees, 25. Clouds beginning to approach on Friday. As a warm front approaches, humidity will begin to go up once again Saturday. It'll feel like 30 degrees, and then there's a possibility of some showers Saturday night into Sunday and for early next week at about 30-40%. But look at those temperatures for early next week. Low 20s, that's below average. So the humidity continues tonight, again tomorrow. We get a break tomorrow night, and then humidity rises again Friday night into Saturday. Lots of sunshine. Showers could develop again for the weekend. Adrian?
Thanks, Frank. The first phase of the Rideau Centre's $360 million expansion and renovation is slated to open in just under 2 weeks. But this new section is not about what you wear, it's about what you eat. The mall is taking a whole new approach to its food court. As Ashley Burke tells us, it's going upscale and green.
The expansion of the Rideau Centre is moving along. Inside renovations, including new stores, tiles, and lights, are months away. What's only a couple weeks away from opening is a new food court. Dozens of contractors are working fast and furiously to get everything ready. A new look, new approach, and new location.
We elevate the design, we elevate the experience. We want our clients in the mall to not only have the shopping experience with the great retailers, but also the dining experience.
The old food court was crowded, there wasn't enough selection, and there was 27 tons of garbage a week. This new food court will be bigger, with 16 food vendors and 850 seats. There will also be no trays or paper plates. The mall bought more than $1 million worth of dishes and glasses.
When you come, your food is served to you on beautiful plates. You have real cutlery, you have a nice glass. When you're done eating, you just remove your tray to a central drop-off, and a lovely attendant will actually do all of the recycling for you, including organic recycling.
Staff will bring what's left of your meal back here. The waste will be prepared to compost, the dishes cleaned to reuse.
We expect that we're going to reduce our waste to about a third of what it is now.
Even the oil from kitchen fryers will be pumped into these containers and recycled. It's a green initiative and new look the mall says it needs to keep customers interested.
I like food, so I'm excited. I think it's great that less waste, less things to throw out.
The food court opens August 1st. The mall's expansion is expected to be completed by 2016. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Prince George is celebrating his first birthday today. 3 new pictures of the boy who's third in line to the throne have been released to mark the occasion. His parents, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, thank people for their warm and generous good wishes. It has been quite a year for the future king. The heir has already logged over 30,000 air miles and is considered a global fashion trendsetter, all before he has even uttered a word. There were major developments today in the investigation of Flight MH17. Coming up, Susan Ormiston has the latest from Ukraine. And more death and destruction in Gaza today, including an increasingly dire shortage of water. That story just ahead. Two major developments today in the investigation into the commercial airliner that was shot out of the sky. International teams began the arduous task of identifying the victims, and a new team of experts arrived at the scene. Susan Ormiston reports.
Finally, on day 5, the first aviation forensics for Flight 17. Clambering over the tail fin, a tiny team from Malaysian Airlines. 3 experts, including the head of engineering. They seemed dwarfed by the scale of the disaster site and the complexity. And they're not talking.
Can we ask you some questions?
No, thank you.
They start at a disadvantage. Days late, and many say the scene has changed. European monitors claimed today that some of the large pieces of wreckage like this one have been cut into with a power saw. The OSCE monitors say the alterations are obvious.
We're at the cockpit section. When we were leaving, we did see workers using diesel-powered saw to get a closer look at the fuselage. We can't draw any conclusions. That's not our role, but it's an observation that we made.
Wow. This is the cockpit of the plane. The cockpit fell in a sunflower field about 7 kilometers away from the midsection. Still, this area is unsecured, completely open. Independent experts consulted by the New York Times say some fuselage show marks of high-velocity shrapnel, consistent with a missile exploding close to the plane. In the twisted metal, we could clearly see multiple examples of small holes and rips. 37 people died here, including some of the crew. Today, a train carrying 282 bodies came to rest in Kharkiv, a city controlled by Ukraine's government. The remains will be flown out to the Netherlands beginning tomorrow, far away from this killing field. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Donetsk.
There was no let-up today in the Middle East, just more death and destruction. But in Gaza, the story includes a potentially dire development, a drastic shortage of water. The CBC's Paul Hunter is there.
With both Israel and Hamas signaling they see no need to rush into a ceasefire, the assaults out of Gaza and more powerfully into Gaza continue night and day. The wounded are raced to hospital in Gaza, where overwhelmed doctors treat trauma with whatever they got left and dispense ever-dwindling medicines. Even symbolic targets are being hit hard by Israeli airstrikes. This mosque, for example. They kill people, buildings, mosques, he says. They destroy mosques. Not to mention, amid all those injuries, a hospital was struck. We were working, he says, when the shells hit. Complicating matters, more reports today of Hamas rockets found hidden in safe houses, and of Hamas using hospitals as safe houses for Hamas officials. But the Israeli assault is pounding the Gaza Strip. Not just people and buildings, but the water supply. The sewage infrastructure has been severely damaged. Fresh water is increasingly scarce. These people use public taps because they have no water at home. For the past week, he says, we've had none. Aid organizations call the water crisis here critical, on top of everything else. Hundreds dead, thousands injured, and talk of a ceasefire remains for now just that. Neither side is willing to step back. Both sides are paying a price. For the moment, a lopsided stalemate with Gazans taking a pounding. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Gaza City.
And Air Canada has cancelled a scheduled flight from Toronto to Tel Aviv tonight after reports of a rocket explosion near the city's airport. That announcement came shortly after the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration prohibited U.S. airlines from flying to Tel Aviv for 24 hours. Several European airlines have also canceled their flights, some of them for the next 36 hours. And the conflict in the Middle East sparked a demonstration in the streets of Ottawa today.
Free, free Palestine!
Protesters marched through the downtown to draw attention to Palestinian deaths and injuries in Gaza. 600 have been killed so far. They marched past the Prime Minister's office on Wellington Street, the Israeli embassy, and the headquarters of the Liberal and New Democratic parties. They called on the Canadian government to remove Israel's ambassador and to take a harder stance against Israel. Just ahead, recent graduates are warning students about a company that organizes prom nights. We'll tell you why next.
Puffy.
A couple of local teenagers are raising concerns about a company that organizes local prom nights. They say the after-prom party at Camp Fortune was overcrowded and rife with underage drinking. And they say they've talked with teens from other high schools with similar complaints. Steve Fisher reports.
That was at the War Museum.
Ooh, that's cool.
Canterbury grads Sarah Mitchell and Nina Bowers have great pictures from their prom night a few weeks ago, but their memories of the evening, not so much.
It felt like we paid a lot more money than was being used there.
I found it was very disorganized and I felt unsafe at points.
Almost all of the local proms are organized through a private company called promnight.ca. They recruit students from each high school who decide what kind of prom they want and then go out and sell the tickets.
Those tickets cost $170 or more. It gets you a fancy dinner at a downtown venue and a post-prom party at Camp Fortune. Nina says their security checked them at the door and alcohol was confiscated, but inside it was a free-for-all, with those who were of age buying drinks for the minors.
Like, is it really worth lots of people getting sick? Is it really worth all of that money? Is it really worth the crowded space and just all of the negatives for this, to sell this one experience for high school students?
This year we had 10,000 students come through prom night activities of one sort or another, between 9,000 and 10,000, and out of that only 2 have registered any kind of concern or inquiry.
Promnight.ca's Pam Kapoor says the post-prom is kept well within the venue's capacity and security is a priority.
So our commitment is to make sure that everyone leaves having a fun and safe and positive experience.
Promnight.ca says it's always looking for ways to improve its service. The company says it will contact Nina and Sarah in the next few days to hear their complaints firsthand. Steve Fisher, CBC News, Ottawa.
Public health officials say it's still too early to determine whether cooler temperatures this year have had any effect on the prevalence of insect-borne diseases in Ottawa. So far, there have been 4 confirmed cases of Lyme disease. That's down from 9 this time last year. There have been no reported cases of West Nile virus. Health officials say it can take several months for people to be diagnosed with Lyme disease after being bitten. Mice and deer ticks carry the disease. The number of cases in Ottawa has been increasing every year for a decade.
Probably due to climate change, the population of the mice that are the reservoir of Lyme disease are expanding northward, and also with warmer winters, the ticks are more likely to survive and overwinter. So both of those factors can contribute to the expansion of the tick populations.
Ottawa defense lawyers are raising money to build and upgrade sports facilities in high-crime areas of the city. The group donated $10,000 to fix up this basketball court at a community housing complex in Sandy Hill. Their goal is to provide positive social experiences for disadvantaged youth who might otherwise turn to violence and crime.
As they say, idle hands are the devil's playthings, and when people really have nothing productive to do, no educational aspirations, or live in a very disadvantaged area, they turn to violence and street crime, drug abuse and drug trafficking. We'd like to have positive outlets for the youth in our community.
Another $7,500 has been collected to build a skate park at the McNabb Community Centre in Centretown. Get ready to see lots of star power at the Toronto International Film Festival. The first announcements for this year's lineup have been revealed. TIFF organizers were still coy about the festival's opening night film, but they did give fans a taste of the 59 star-studded galas, including the much-anticipated thriller The Equalizer, starring Denzel Washington, and a new black comedy from a Canadian director. This Is Where I Leave You stars Jason Bateman, Tina Fey, and Jane Fonda. The festival kicks off September 4th in Toronto. Still ahead, Mountie makeover. We'll tell you why a group of Mounties got their hair done on Parliament Hill today. That's coming up next. Don't forget to join us on CBC News Ottawa at 11. Parks Canada will set fire to one of the Thousand Islands after suppressing fires there for years. We'll have that story and more tonight following the National. Well, a pair of barbers set up shop on Parliament Hill today, and members of the RCMP's National Division shed their locks in support of fight against childhood cancer. Constable Lorette Jones was one of 8 Mounties who took up the head shaving challenge. She's donating her hair to Locks of Love, a nonprofit group that provides wigs to young cancer patients. Jones and her colleagues collected more than $8,000 in pledge money. For them, bald has never been so beautiful. Well, that's Ottawa at 6 for this evening. Thanks for joining us. Remember, we have your first newscast and your first forecast each weekday at 5 o'clock. Have a good night.